Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome into UnAnchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch, and this week's episode, of course, is brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping and where. We're in New Hampshire, of course, and by the great George Gray, the big wheel, we call him, at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. Well, we're thrilled to have the biggest wheel of all, and again, sports, and you name it. He's been a good friend of ours for years, and he's been a good friend to people in Boston, Baltimore, San Diego, Yale, Princeton, on and on. But Lobel always handles the intros, Larry. I don't know why, but he's going to introduce you. Take it away, Robert.
Thanks, Lynchy. And Larry, welcome. It's really great to see you and great to have you here. And, well, there's so many places I can start. I know that just to refresh our audience, Edward Bennett Williams was a huge mentor for you.
He was indeed the biggest and the best I could possibly have.
And he was with the Washington Redskins, at least your time in D.C. and with the Washington Redskins, and brought you into so many different areas of expertise. And Lynchy's reluctant to mention your law degree from Yale, but he did mention, so I thought that was a big deal.
Yeah, I remember the first meeting I went to with Ed. He left after the first half day. He had to go back to the law firm. And here I am, a 30-something guy surrounded by these baseball legends. And I said, what the hell am I doing here? And then one of the Roonies came up to me and said, we know you're from Pittsburgh. And the whole Pittsburgh connection is a little like the Boston connection. It's all you need.
You must be distraught being from Pittsburgh and seeing all the success that Philadelphia's had over the past few years, especially now. Well, the Steelers are hanging in there, but I know you're a big Steeler fan. The Eagles are dominating.
I am indeed. You can't grow up in Pittsburgh without being a Steeler fan. And Mike McCarthy said it best the other day when he said the coaches of the Cowboys. He said, you're not from Pittsburgh if you grow up and you don't hate everything about Philadelphia.
Heard that, and I'm sure you believed it. Why wouldn't you? I understand, and we have the same issues. It's where the evil empire came from, that phrase. And
it's true.
I'll never forget standing on the sidelines of Yankee Stadium and doing a live shot with you along the first base line, and you came out with that line at the evil empire. It was really pretty damn stunning. It was in your face.
I remember the New York Times correspondent saying, God damn it, that's a good line. So anyway, I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that.
Well, your baseball, and obviously we're going to focus on that because you've been such a huge influence in the Boston area and New England area, and not only that, but Major League Baseball with San Diego and the Orioles, and now the Red Sox, and being the CEO and president of each of those organizations. And how did it all come together with you and John Henry and Tom Werner? How did the three of you ended up, you being the adult in the room, how did the three of you end up together and coming to Boston?
Well, we were dialing for dollars in the late part of, I should say, of 2001. And I remember being at the Yale Brown game when with my high school teammate and buddy who was the athletic director at Yale. And I got a phone call from John Henry, whom I knew. And he said, you think there's room for me in that group of yours? And I said, room for you, John. You're perfect.
You're perfect.
You're perfect. So we it worked out. It worked out well. He called at halftime of that game, and we called him Investor 11 to protect his privacy, and it went from there. He was just the the deep-pocketed guy that we needed and who had the baseball bona fides.
What about Werner? How did the three of you get together?
Well, Warner was with us in San Diego when we bought the team from him. I think his was the only time that I can recall that a team was sold for less than it was purchased for, and he stayed on as a 5% owner of our team. So he and I knew each other from those days.
So the fact that he was dating Katie Couric had nothing to do with it at the time.
No, nothing to do with it. No, it's just coincidental.
No, I think it had a lot to do with it. Well, at any rate, Lynch, this just gets us off the ground.
I'm sorry. Well, the mention of it was all that was required because we were so desperate for so much for more money to acquire the team, and John was perfect. He wrote a check for $25 million right on the spot, and that's pretty impressive, by the way. If you can get someone to write a check for $25 million right on the spot. Was
it Seelig that put that? When you say your group, John was not part of you. Who was your group at that time, Larry?
It was Tom Werner, myself, a guy named Les Otten. And
I know Les Otten from the ski area guy.
Yes, yeah. And John joined us in late October.
Lynchy?
You know the old saying,
quite swiftly.
Lynchy, the old saying that success is 1,000 fathers and failure is an orphan. Well, we got lots of people who think they were a part of putting our group together.
That's pretty interesting. Who were the pretenders? How do you say that?
Never mind. Never mind. Lobel, I see we turned back the calendar, but we turned back the clock, but not the calendar. Nothing has changed with you.
Well, no, I mean, I think people are interested. I mean, your influence in this area was overwhelming. I mean, let's not talk about the last few years right now. Let's talk about your successes that you had. Your influence was really overwhelming, and you were the adult in the room. So let's face it.
Thank you. I was lucky enough to bring in a lot of good people, and so we ended up with a pretty what we were used to call deep depth in the front office, and we after we won in 2004, we had a saying that any group of Schlemiels can win once, so we had to win again in 2007, and we won again in 2013, and of course the team won again in 2018. So it was a great run.
Well, I'll say, I'll shut up. Listen, one more question, and then I'll shut up. All right, because I really haven't.
I can just leave.
I'll shut up in a minute. I'm just fascinated. So basically, with the Red Sox, the dog has been chasing the car for decades. 8 decades, as a matter of fact. The dog's chasing the car, and it catches the car finally in 2004.
Right.
And then that changes everything. That really changed everything.
Well, 2005 is still a blur to me. The magic of 2005, the fan reaction 2005, the player reaction 2004, I should say, it was extraordinary, and I still get chills when I talk about it.
You know, one of the big turnarounds in that 2004 season was the trade on the trading deadline. Nomar Garciaparra, Orlando Cepeda came in, Dougman came. Where did you find the America?
Well, we went to Nomar directly and said, "Oh, listen, let's stop fooling around. Are we gonna do a deal or we're not going to do a deal, or you're going to leave us at the end of the year. And he basically said, I'm going to leave at the end of the year. So he kind of called the shot. And when he said he was going to leave and we were going to get a couple of draft picks, it didn't seem right. So we tried to make something happen. And Theo Epstein and was instrumental in all of that happening. Menkiewicz, I still don't know where he came from.
Well, I remember going on TV. It was a noon broadcast, and you had traded Nomar, but it was the same day that you got Mankiewicz from Minnesota.
Yeah,
and Millar was never not happy about that. Kevin Millar thought he was the quintessential first baseman, offensively and defensively, and man was not happy about Mankiewicz coming.
Well, he did get the walk that started the.
Yes, that is very famous, right? And then a television show afterwards.
Say what?
And a television show afterwards.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Good, but
he was getting that walk was a big deal, and then Dave Roberts came in and stole that base by the smallest of margins, and there you go. Then we were off.
Boy, I'll say that was amazing.
On the field, the Red Sox Yankees have always been a combustible combination. Was it the same with on the executive level?
It was Lynch. The senior executives of the Yankees were not reluctant to throw names in our direction, and we could take a punch, and we retaliated, and so we kept the level pretty ugly, pretty high for pretty long.
Bob, you want to ask?
Yeah, no, there's so many fascinating things because so many careers were started, and Theo's for one, and I know that he was a protege of yours and came with San Diego, and it wasn't always smooth with Theo here in Boston. Francona was another one. Turned out to be, in a lot of people's opinion, the best manager the Red Sox ever had. And then there was that whole falling out period. So, like I said, the dog caught the car, and a lot of things happened, and they weren't all good. They were all.
Well, listen, we made a big effort to bring in a lot of good people, and you named some of them there. But I remember Sam. Oh gosh, why am I blanking on Sam's last name?
Kennedy.
Sam Kennedy's. We was part of the Free the Brookline 2 campaign that we conducted here. Free the Brookline 2, Theo Epstein and Sam Kennedy, and we had to lodge them away from the San Diego Padres, and we ended up with a lot of good people, including Francona.
So Larry, you brought in yourself, John Henry, Tom Werner. Now you got to get someone to actually run the day-to-day operation. What made you gravitate toward a 28-year-old kid who had, and you don't have training wheels in this job. I mean, at this particular time, you got to be the Tour de France guy on a bicycle. What made you pull the trigger and say, yes, Theo is the guy?
Well, there was a club. Theo was advanced intellectually. There's no question about that. And we were in the process of professionalizing the front office. And it's funny. There's a story about that. That night we had a dinner at the White House, and President Bush was fanatically punctual. So right at 7:00, he came in and he said, "Hey, Lucchino, I hear you hired a 28-year-old GM today." I said, "Yeah, that's correct, Mr. President. He went to Yale." He said, "Strike two." It's the funniest thing he ever said. So we did hire. I don't know what made me want to do it, but I wanted to do it against the wishes of John and Tom, who thought that Theo was a little bit too young.
So wait a minute, let's back up right there. Against their wishes, they thought it was too young, too inexperienced.
Yes, I think that's right. I think that's right. I remember spending a fair bit of time to convince them that he was the right guy. But he was to be 29 in a few weeks' time.
Theo used to joke that was a prefix to his real name, a 28-year-old, Theo Epstein, general manager of
yeah. Should say 29 and 10, 11 12ths.
Yeah. So what was the convincing point? How did you convince them? Who against what?
I just think it was. I suggested he had the highest ceiling, and he did, and they didn't take that much convincing. They were receptive to the notion. They wanted to win. There was no question about it. That John and Tom wanted to win in those days. We were very determined to win. And if I suggested this was the fastest, quickest way to get there, they were receptive.
Today's present day fan will say, what changed?
Well, we had contract disputes changed during the.
I mean, in terms of wanting to win.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I still own a little piece of the Red Sox, but I am inactive. I know the Red Sox have a lot of different fires to put out in different sports, and I look back with longing to the days when we were just the Boston Red Sox.
You think they've got distracted, Larry? Do you think that so many different pieces of the Fenway Sports Group have distracted them in many ways, or changed?
I think that's somewhat inevitable. I suppose that with the passage of time comes distractions and other interests. But as far as I know, John and Tom were and still are determined to win and want to win at the Red Sox.
The optics aren't great though, Larry. I mean, every other week you have some acquisition by the Fenway Sports Group when the team is just sort of, down the bottom of the American League East. And is that something that bothers a lot of people?
Yeah, it bothers me. It bothers me. As I said, I was thinking the other day about the good days when we had just there were 15 of us who were owners of the team, and we kept an eye on where the Red Sox won. We were determined to end that 86-year-old curse, and so I think that people were and are longing for those good old days.
So you're saying you longing for the good old days when baseball took 100% of the attention of every member of that 15-person group, not today when it might not be taking even the majority of that group.
Well, I should be a little careful because
no, let it go, Larry.
I got the phone call from someone at Liverpool saying they were interested in reorganizing, and would we be interested in them? And so I remember calling John. He didn't know what soccer was, but he knew what Liverpool was, and he was very interested in pursuing the Liverpool connection. So I was part of the effort that caused the diversification.
Well, I don't know, but how would you know? How would you know they'd buy a hockey team? How did you know they'd get a NASCAR team? How did you know they'd get a golf team? How did you didn't know? You do. That's due diligence. That's different. You can't.
No, I think you're right. I didn't know it would go on so deeply and so successfully, and but in any event, I have great respect and admiration for John Henry and Tom Werner and their desire to win. So don't take that for granted.
No, I understand, Larry. Totally. things through the years have a way of mellowing in a lot of different ways. But who was the decision maker? I mean, when you say Henry, you had to convince Henry and Tom to hire Theo. Who was the decision maker in the three of you?
Well, I guess I was in a sense that I was the one who brought the decision to the group and said, let's debate this. Theo is ready, and in fact, he was not quite ready. On the contract front, he was a little young, but he was very very determined guy who was very knowledgeable on player personnel, which is really what a GM is all about.
So, does it concern you that analytics has become such a huge part of the game?
Because it does a little bit, but I don't think it'll ever be too big a part of the game. You got someone like John Henry who believes very deeply in it, Theo Epstein who believed deeply in it, Sam Kennedy who believes in it, but I think with a more reasonable bent. He's inclined to look at both. To look through both lenses, both the competitive competitive lens and also the quantitative lens, and to get a truer picture of the talent at the other end.
Are the three of you still good friends, Tom, John, and yourself, or has there been a rift?
I would say we are still. John and I still talk to each other. Tom and I not so much, but we are still friendly. Tom did a wonderful job at the. I don't know if you went to the Tim Wakefield memorial, but it was fantastic, and Tom did a wonderful capturing the spirit of the moment.
Yeah, I have my own. We all have our own opinions of these people, but Janet Marie Smith was a huge part of your operation as well. I mean, you can't deny her or even talk about your success without talking about Janet Marie Smith because of the way she designed, with your advice and touch, building those ballparks to resemble previous era ballparks and have that same feel that she did with Petco Field and Camden Yards and certainly Fenway Park, certainly transformed Fenway Park, as you know, into something really, not that it wasn't special to begin with, but it was a dump before.
I know. You sports writers sort of led the charge on Fenway Park and the inadequacies, but we wanted a modern facility that had modern amenities, but it was traditional, old-fashioned ballpark, and Fenway Park presented that opportunity to us, as did Camden Yards.
So let me ask you: was there ever any? We've all heard stories. We tell the one over and over again how John was looking at a piece of property down in the harbor. He went down and met with Joe O'Donnell down there. And John was imagining looking out over the harbor where center field would be, right field, et cetera, et cetera. Was there ever any consideration to building a new ballpark in another part of the city?
Vaguely, I suppose we considered absolutely everything way back when. I think that that session with Joe has been largely exaggerated, but John was receptive to almost any and every possibility, including a ballpark down at the waterfront.
That would have been something, but that would have meant tearing down Fenway, and you might not have that whole real estate development that's going on around there right now.
Boy, that's for sure. That's for sure. We bought some real estate on all four sides of Fenway in order to protect ourselves, because we saw the inevitable coming, that it was we were going to keep Fenway Park, and it was going to be a massive amount of rebuilding going on around it, and we wanted to maintain the virtues of the classic baseball virtues of Fenway Park while still growing and changing with the real estate needs.
Did Jan Marie Smith get a fair shake in her? All of a sudden, she disappeared from the scene here.
Well, she's been active with us in Worcester, where I've been the principal owner, and one of the first things I did when I went there was hire her, and as a so we were going to build a new ballpark in Worcester, and that was right up her alley, and so she's been very active for and with me for the last several years. But she has faded from the scene, I suppose. It's true with respect to the ballpark.
Everybody says that Worcester's Polar Park is a gem. I mean, everybody I've talked to, I've heard conversations from other people that had no idea I was standing there listening to their conversations, which is the best way of hearing about things. They thought it was a really special place, and I thought you ought to know that. I mean, I think you do know that, but it's always good to be reinforced.
Boy, I agree, especially when you got a legitimate source as you do, Bob. When the person doesn't even know you're listening, but we're lucky. The Worcester is a great baseball market. Central Mass is a great extension of the Red Sox market, and we have had winning records since we've been there for the last 3 years. We've made some money. Not that people necessarily care about that, but it's been a very successful run. We've had a ballpark that has been extremely well received by the people of Central Mass primarily. But also,
I know that's what everybody says, and you should. I'm sure you know that, but it's good to hear it from outside sources. I wish you'd have hired me, Larry, to teach her.
Yeah, we should have hired. We should have had a Back to the Future day. Hired you and Lynch.
Yeah, I got it.
But do you like it, Larry? Do you like owning a minor league team? And you've gone from.
I have, but I'm now 78. I've been at this for over 40 years, so it's time to sell this team and to move on to blissful retirement.
How's your health, Larry?
Pretty good. It varies from day to day, but it's pretty good. I've had a little cold, a flu the last couple of weeks, which has delayed my scheduling this event. But as you can hear now, my voice is stronger, and I'm much better than I used to be.
And you've been really involved with the Jimmy Fund, and I know you yourself has battled cancer and successfully battled it. But can you talk a little bit about how that experience has gone and where that stands now?
Well, this is the 75th anniversary of the Jimmy Fund, and we are in a big effort to celebrate that fact. And we would appreciate contributions from people to the Jimmy Fund. It has been thriving for years, and between the Jimmy Fund, the Pan Mass Challenge, and the Jimmy Fund Walk, and all sorts of things, we're doing quite well. And but we do need to do well. The adversary is formidable with respect to cancer.
I have Lynch, a question here about the different towns that he was in. Born in Pittsburgh, and that's an accomplishment in under itself. I've known a few
Come on, we Pittsburghers feel.
We're all about, Cleveland is a big, I'm a big fan of Cleveland. You're a big fan of the Steelers, and somehow we've managed to get along.
Yeah.
So, but Pittsburgh, San Diego, Baltimore, DC, the capital, and Boston. Now, there are 5 different cultures, and you might be able to add a few. How would you compare? You don't have to go through each one of them, but the cultures that those.
Well, I think that the place to start is the right place to start, Bob, and that is that they are each different one from another. You shouldn't be too quick to draw comparisons. That Baltimore is one kind of town, and San Diego is another, Pittsburgh is another, and you've got to honestly in the ballpark. The ballpark has got to really got to recommend reflect, I should say, the characteristics of the town, and it did in Baltimore. It did in San Diego. It did in Boston. It did in Worcester, and I think that we are really lucky in that regard. We've had distinctive towns with distinctive markets.
Well, how would you compare Boston to the culture of Boston? I mean, to come here, I'm not saying. No, you've had the background that you could adapt. I'm not sure Tom Werner ever adapted. That's my opinion. Okay.
Never mind.
Well, that's my opinion. I just
Okay.
I don't think Tom has ever really
Become a Bostonian. Yeah. Well.
Okay.
That's your opinion.
Okay, yeah, that was my opinion, and I didn't ask you to join it. But talk about this community. Tell this town what it's like, because I think some people don't realize it.
Well, this town is very it's unique, and I think you got to start with that perspective. Bostonians, have a certain perspective, certain element of favoritism about things that are Boston, and I think that's true. It's a neighborhood town like Pittsburgh. It's a ethnic town like Pittsburgh. It's a political town like Pittsburgh. So in some ways, Pittsburgh was a great growing up place for me, and prepared me for the Boston scene that I inherited with Mayor Menino and the political scene that was here.
I want to back up. I don't know if this is breaking news or not, but you said a few moments ago you were 78 years old and it's time to sell. Is that breaking news in this podcast?
I don't know that it is. We've been talking to various people for many months, trying to find a local owner who would step up. So I think it's something that's been going on for some time, and but whether it happens in the next 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years remains to be seen.
Okay. And one other question: do you have to go to Yale to actually run the Boston Red Sox?
Yeah, it actually helps.
I mean,
It helps. You're used to finishing second. My phone number is 2222, my cell number. So I remember taking that one because we were always second to the Yankees, and I wanted to have a number that reminded me of that. And Yale finishing second to Princeton or Harvard was always a good reminder of that too.
I mean, you go Lucchino, Epstein, Chaim Bloom, Craig Breslow now. I mean, give some other schools a chance, will you?
Well, if Harvard weren't so student oriented, we would give them more of a chance.
You got Peter Woodfork in there, though. That's right. And what's his name? Ben Crockett.
Yeah, Ben Crockett. There you are.
Yeah, here we go. Hey, Bob, why don't you read that spot and we can ask Larry the question.
Oh, that's great. Hang on, Larry. I got one more. By the way, I've had some really great jobs over my mediocre career, but one of the best jobs I had was the PA announcer at Fenway Park, and
you were good at it.
I thank you for that. That opportunity really, I loved doing that. It was great. It was great. And anyway, campers, you got to take advantage of the end of the season savings at Cold Springs RV. You can also get a great deal on 2024 models that are in stock. So go check out the latest in pop-ups and travel trailers and fifth wheelers and motorhomes, and visit all these towns that Larry was talking about, whether it's Baltimore or Boston or DC or Pittsburgh or San Diego, and ask about winter storage for your RV. Protect your RV with winterizing at their Pro RV Service Center. It's a great idea. So where you put it this winter, get to Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire, and tell them Lobel and Lynch sent you. And learn more, you can go on coldspringsrv.com. And the question, of course, our favorite time of the week in these podcasts, Larry, is something that Mike's about to ask you.
All right. So we know that John Madden didn't like to fly. He had a Madden cruiser.
Right.
So we're trying to get Cold Springs RV to build a Lobel / Lynchy cruiser. And we're going to let each one of our guests take it cross country from Boston to California. But you have to pick somebody to ride shotgun with you who want to be your companion. Somebody you want to have a conversation with, somebody you'd like to spend 5 or 6 days with. And, we've had some great answers, anyone from Bill Parcells to Winston Churchill to you name it. So the question to you, Larry Lucchino, you're going to get to ride in the Lobel cruiser cross country. It's all yours for a whole week. You get a ride, and who would you like to ride shotgun with you?
I think Edward Bennett Williams or Bobby Beathard. Bobby Beathard was a player personnel guy for the in the NFL, and then became the general manager of the Red Sox when I was a young lad. And he is a fascinating guy. He was a fascinating guy, and he is very knowledgeable. He still influences me to this day. So I would say Beathard or Williams would be ideal in my case.
That's interesting. Would you talk football? What would you talk?
Well, we talk life in general, and Beathard was a student of life as well as a student of football, and Williams was a student of life. Absolutely. I asked his wife what his great gift was as a lawyer, and she said it was his undeniable instinct for people, and I think that's right. So you could always keep a conversation alive with Williams. In fact, Williams would say, "Quiet down, Lucchino. Let me raise this conversation to a higher level," and he would.
I mean, it's impossible to pick out all the accomplishments. We go back to the Final Four. You're on the Princeton team in 1965, which goes to the Final Four.
Bill Bradley.
Yeah, Dollar Bill.
Bradley's a fabulous guy, and he's matured and lightened up, and I still see him about once a year, and I have enormous respect for him.
A sense of where you are. He wrote that book.
Yeah, we're gonna write a book about the captain of our team my senior year. That was Bradley was the captain my sophomore year, and the book about him was called A Sense of Where You Are. The book about Ed Hummer, who was the captain my senior year, was called Where Am I? So it like that, but he's a very intelligent, very bright guy, and he gets the joke.
What's the Mount Everest of all your accomplishments, Larry?
Boy, I would say the 86 year into the curse. I would say that has to be number one. That we were determined that we would end that. And in fact, we said so at the initial press conference when we were introduced, that we would take a few years and end the curse of the Bambino, and we did. We ended up doing so in 2004, and we ended up making that statement in 2001.
Yeah, that was pretty remarkable, and just for so many different things. And what do you? That was. A great time, never to be repeated because just of what it preceded or what it closed off that dark period that
sure did. Yeah.
It was under there. But what about the state of baseball today, Larry? You can't.
I think it's robust, despite the World Series being played in a closet in Texas and Arkansas, in Arizona. I think the state of the game is very good. Changes in rules in the recent years have sped up the game, and I think that it still is the number one sport. That if people are athletes and they're in high school, they've got to play some baseball, or they're viewed differently.
You think the Red Sox? You think it will take more than or just winning, or would it be just winning would bring them back to their prominence in Boston? Because it's now the Patriots and have taken over, and the Bruins and the Celtics are right behind them, and the Red Sox are in fourth place right now when they used to be unequivocally at top.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox will come back, and I think that winning will lead the way. It'll be more than winning. It'll be compelling personalities. It'll be attractive culture, but it will definitely be winning on the part of the Red Sox that leads the way.
Will Tom and John ever go back to their, for lack of a better word, spending ways?
That I don't know. You'd have to ask them, but I do think that.
Stop being a lawyer now, Larry. Stop being a lawyer. Talking to Lobel and Lynch.
Trying, Mike. I'm trying to.
Be careful, Trump will hire you.
Yeah, no, I will. I would say that. Will they go back? They will win. They will win again. There's no question in my mind they will win again. And whether they win with the highest payroll or the next to the highest payroll or a decent payroll is yet to be seen. There's so many other factors that matter, including health and depth and all of that. So I do predict that John and Tom will win again.
How's your relationship with Theo now? It was
it's decent. We were courteous to each other and nice, pleasant to each other when we see each other. It's usually at weddings and wakes, unfortunately, but we get along just fine. Again, that dispute with him was largely, in my opinion, a function of contract extension. We were trying to come up with a number that made sense, and he had one number in mind, and we had another number in mind, and it spiraled out of control.
Were you aware that Halloween night that he was walking around in a gorilla outfit outside Fenway?
Oh no, I wasn't aware of that. But that was that again, another event that's been grossly exaggerated. He was trying to get out of there safely without the press bombarding him, and so he took someone's costume, and I think that was clever.
It was. You went right by me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
right by me. Never ever knew. We're all trying to work our sources. Okay, Koff wants you. Theo's still down the basement down there. None of us. And then a simple thing like a gorilla outfit just went right by us.
Nice going, Mike.
Yep, nice going. The Yale guy fools the Harvard guy again.
It's all right. I had Dan Roach down there. I didn't go down myself. Delegated that responsibility. Larry, you've been great. There's so many other things I just wanted to ask you. Just a chance.
I'll come back. I love talking to you guys. It's
well, good. And we'll just there's other things I want to ask you about. The Bob Holler article on Tito was pretty rough. Front page stuff on your manager, and it ended up causing him to, in one way or another, to leave. And I asked Shaughnessy who the source was to the Holler. Of course, Shaughnessy would never tell me. He says they destroyed the files.
Yeah. Shaughnessy would never
came in and bought the Globe. Those guys went in there and destroyed the files, so nobody would ever know who the source was. Yeah. So tell us.
We can talk about that. Tito is a subject well worth discussing, and so is Tito, and did I say Theo? And we have a lot of topics we can continue on with.
All right. Well, let's talk about Tito now that he's teed up for this.
I thought we're trying to close this thing out. Not Tito himself.
No, I was not at all. I was being respectful and hopefully because I was concerned about your time and your desire to continue to going. But let's talk about Tito and how he got here and how he left.
Well, he got here by dint of the oldest way possible: competition, competition, competition. He was one of several people that our baseball operations people interviewed, and he did very well on the written exams. And he was and his great gift, of course, was being clever enough to understand the intricacies of baseball, but and not so clever as to be bored by them. And he was a very successful manager of the team until I needed to hear from a different voice in 2011, 2012.
Do you believe that's what it was? They just needed another voice. He was too familiar with him.
Well, I think it was more than that, but that was certainly part of it. Yeah, I think the after six or 8 years as a manager, I think it becomes enough, and a new voice is always well received.
So who was the source of the Holer article?
I don't know. I really don't know. And if I did know, I would tell you, because I think we've been criticized for Tito's departure, and I think that article was largely responsible for his departure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a big catalyst.
Yeah.
But like I said, those files have been destroyed, and so it's going to go down with the rest of them.
We'll see. Not as long as Shaughnessy is the author of Tito's biography, and he is. He'll always have a defender in Shaughnessy.
And that's true.
Shaughnessy,
I remember Shaughnessy told us, right, Lynchy, that Theo, our Francona, said, "I want to write a book, but if it wouldn't be with you." When he said that,
yeah.
If Shaughnessy first asked him, he said, "Yeah, I'll write one, but it's not going to be with you."
But I remember that spring training. There was a lot of friction in the air. You were there, Larry. I think it rained a lot of days, so our press conferences, instead of being on the bench or indoors, and I think he kept asking questions. You're going, next question, next question, next question. You wouldn't acknowledge that he was even in the room.
Yeah, Theo, you're talking about
Shaughnessy.
Shaughnessy, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he was taking a very extreme position, and we thought that we would not want to feed that extreme position.
We thought that, Shaughnessy told us he hasn't talked to John Henry since 2009.
Oh, my goodness.
John Henry's his boss, and I have no reason to believe that Shaughnessy's wrong, but think about that. He hasn't talked to his boss at the Globe in 2009.
Wow.
What does that tell you? I don't know what that says.
I don't know either, except that it means that John is not deeply interested in the Globe.
John
is not deeply interested in Globe affairs. If he doesn't talk to Shaughnessy about anything,
He just leaves that to Linda, huh? Pretty much.
I think Linda is very deeply interested in the Globe, and runs it as a full-time job.
Let me get one final spot in here, Larry, before we say goodbye. If you're thinking about a new car, new vehicle, go where Lobel and Lynchy go. Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know George Gray will treat you right. They're a family-owned and operated business and dealership that we trust, and I guarantee that you can trust as well. In fact, we're going to dinner with George tomorrow night. Go see the big wheel himself, George Gray of Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. I know he's a big fan of Larry Lucchino, big fan of the Sox, and we've always been big fans of yours, Larry.
Well, thank you, Lynchy.
You've always been fair and kind to us, and I thoroughly enjoyed my years covering you and the Red Sox because you were respectful, and I always felt I got a fair shake every single time.
Well, there was the Yale man in you. Okay.
He only went down there to play football. He didn't go there to meet anybody.
Never mind. Okay.
Remember you and I did an interview for Sports Final that was fairly lengthy, and I it was probably it covered so many things. And I remember one of the guests I had on that night was Michael Felger. Afterwards, he was really could not understand why I spent so much time with you on that interview when it took away from their time on the air, and he was really pissed about it. He said, "Why would you spend so much time talking about the Kino about baseball, and when we're not going to be on for?" It was just really, I thought, a great compliment. I'm not sure for who or what, but it was.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
All right, thanks, Larry. Robert, thank you very much.
Let's see you.
Great to have you, Larry. Good luck with the sale and good luck
Thank you.
with your health.
Invite me back. I'll be happy to come.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks.
Got any openings, Larry? Let me know. Huh?
Okay.
See you later. Stay.
All right, everybody. See you next week, and make sure you follow us on